want to welcome each and every one of you here today in our Olive Tree Fellowship Teaching Center here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we want to welcome each and every one of you that are also coming in through our Torah Unleashed YouTube channel or our Facebook channel. And we want to welcome you, asking you also to subscribe and put the little bell so that you know every time that we are doing a teaching here in Albuquerque. And if you're ever passing by through Albuquerque, feel free to come and join us. Today, we are in our 12th portion of the Torah cycle of our teaching, going from Genesis, Bereshit, to Deuteronomy, Devarim, the Torah. And today our study is called Vayechi. Vayechi. And he lived, talking about Yaakov, talking about Jacob. It's Genesis 47, chapter 47, verses 28 to chapter 50, 26. And this is our last portion of the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. And next parasha, next Shabbat, we are going to start with Shemot, the book of Exodus. And so we want to make sure that we come. And so today we're going to unpack this parasha. And of course, there you have Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt. Mitzrayim is Egypt. And of course, he lived there for some time. And we're going to be looking at our parasha today. This is Vayechi. This is our outline. Now remember, every portion, every parasha has a number of themes in it. Now, in 1 hour, we cannot go through every theme, so there's hits and misses every year. And every year I try to add something or take something away so that we could fill. Today, we're going to look at Yaakov's last request, where he adopts Joseph's 2 sons and blesses them. And we're going to spend some time on the Acharit Chayamim. Everybody say with me, Acharit Chayamim. This is the last days. As Yaakov blesses the 12 sons, his 12 sons, he says, this is what's going to happen in the last days. And so we are no longer in the last days. We are probably in the last hours of the last days. And so these are blessings for the sons of Israel for the last days. So most of us have studied about the last days, and we study it from different angles or whatever denomination or group or where you've studied at in the past. We're going to do a little overview of the last days. And I'm going to share with you something that Adonai has shown to us on the last days. And of course, one of the main ones also is Yaakov's blessing to Yehuda. And his blessing to Yehuda has to do with Messiah, Yeshua. And of course, it ends with Jacob's last moments, his death, his funeral, from the death of Yaakov to the death of Joseph. Excuse me. And so this is our Parsha outline. And let's just unpack this and see how much we get into each one. Of course, we'll look at some of these things more in depth, and some will just kind of glide over this year. Now, we begin with Yaakov's last wishes. And Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim, the land of Egypt, 17 years, So the whole age of Yaakov was 147 years. So he lived 147 years. And the time drew nigh that Israel must die. Now remember, Yaakov, his name was changed by Adonai to Israel. So anytime you hear Israel, we're not talking just about a nation, a state, a country. We're talking about a person and his descendants. Israel is Yaakov. And remember, he was the supplanter, the heel catcher. He was a deceiver. But Adonai changed his name from that to Prince with Elohim, the one who prevails. So now he's Israel. And he called his son Yosef and said to him, if now I have found grace in your sight, I pray thee, I ask thee, to put your hand under my thigh. This was a sign of making a vow. Do not bury me in Mitzrayim. Do not bury me here in Egypt. But may I lie with my fathers, and you will carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burying place. If you remember, that was Machpelah, where Abraham was buried. And of course, Abraham bought that for Sarah. And Isaac was buried there. And of course, Leah. And this is the place where the patriarchs and matriarchs were buried. And what Joseph did is says, yes, I will do that. And Israel bowed himself upon the head of the bed. Now, the first thing that happens here in chapter 48 is sometime later, Yaakov started getting sick. And so he called upon Joseph to come. And Joseph comes to him, and he comes and he brings Joseph's two sons, Manasseh the older, and he brought Ephraim the younger. Now what's interesting is that Yaakov adopts these two boys, because these two boys were born before Yaakov came to Egypt. Now Joseph had other sons and daughters, and those Yaakov did not adopt. He only adopted these two sons. Now, it's important for us to start looking at this idea of Ephraim and Manasseh, or I should say Manasseh and Ephraim. And so when Joseph brings these two boys, it says there that he put Ephraim in the right hand towards Israel's left, and Manasseh on his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. So he brings Manasseh to the right hand, which is the hand of blessing, for double blessing for the oldest, and the hand of the secondary blessing for the youngest. And so he places Manasseh and Ephraim over here. But we see that what Yaakov does, what Israel does, is he stretched out his hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, opposite, and he did the opposite to Manasseh. And he started blessing them. Now, Manasseh was the firstborn, so he does an exchange over here. And he blessed Joseph and said, Elohim, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life unto this day. Now I bolded this next verse and I underlined it. because he says, the angel, now remember the word angel we've been studying does not mean a regular heavenly being. This angel is the Malach Yahweh, the angel, the messenger of Yahweh. The messenger which redeemed me from all the evil. Bless the lads, bless these boys. Now, this is the pre-incarnate Yeshua, who is the equal of Yahweh. Now, we see that also in the New Covenant Scriptures where Yeshua says to the Pharisees, I and the Father are echad, I and the Father are one. So always remember, every time you see the angel of Yahweh, the angel which redeemed me, bought me out, remember, this is, the word goel, the one that bought me, redeemed me from all evil. This angel, blessed these lads. Well, we really see that it is Yahweh who blesses the lads, but the angel of Yahweh is equal to Yahweh himself. And let my name be named in them. And by this, he adopts them. It's like giving someone your surname. They have another surname, but you give them your surname, then they become yours. You adopt them. And let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put your hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son. Lo sabo. I know it, my son. He also shall become, talking about Manasseh, he also shall become a people, and he also will be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he. Now, always remember, there's always a concept. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. It's interesting that Ephraim is the last. Joseph, who is the firstborn of Rachel, has two boys. And the two boys are blessed. None of the grandchildren of any of the other ones are blessed except Joseph. Because remember, of Yaakov's 4 wives, it is Rachel who is the beloved of Yaakov. She was the one that he fell in love with when he goes to Padan Aram. He is the one that chose her to be his wife. If it wasn't for Laban and his deception on the deceiver and bringing Leah and then the other 2 wives that came later, it would have been Yaakov and Rachel and their children. But what we have here is Ephraim is the last. And we're going to see today something very important. Maybe you've never seen this before. But the last shall be first, and the first is going to be last. And he shall become a multitude of nations. But he blessed them. Now the multitude of nations in Hebrew is the Melogoim. He's going to be a multitude, a melo, a great many nations shall come from Ephraim. The last one. The last one shall be first, and the last one shall be greater. And he blessed them, saying, In thee shall Israel bless, saying, Elohim, make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. So many, excuse me, so many times when we bless the boys, we say, may Adonai make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. In other words, into a multitude. Now, there's the blessing of the 12 sons. And Yaakov says, gather around. Júntense conmigo. Come gather around. In a weak but audible voice. So I can tell you what will happen to you in the Acharit Hayamim. This is what will happen to you in the Acharat Hayamim. In the latter days. In the last days. Esto es lo que va a pasar con ustedes en los últimos días, the Acharit HaYamim. And he starts with each one. Now, what is the Acharit HaYamim? The Greek is the eschaton ton meron. Eschaton is where we get the word eschatology. Eschatology is the study of the last days. If you go to Bible school, they have theology and ecclesiology and harmatology and soteriology. But one of the teachings is eschatology, and that's the study of the last days. And of course, both modern Judaism and modern Christianity contain various models that produce various outcomes and frameworks that can be projected and envisioned. And so if you go to any Bible school, any seminary, any yeshiva in Judaism, you will find that there are many times many different kinds of theologies on the last days. And we're going to see a couple of them, especially from Christianity, but we're going to be looking at the last days today. Now, in the Tanakh, you will see the term last days, Acharit Hayamim, many times. These are only several of them that we could put in one slide. In Deuteronomy from Torah, you will suffer, but in the last days, in the Acharit Hayamim, you'll return to Yahweh your Elohim and listen to his voice. Yes, Israel will be scattered because they brought the curse of breaking Torah upon themselves, and Adonai scattered them. But in the last days, there will be a return, and we are seeing that today. We are seeing that today. It shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. That's talking about the millennium. In the last days, I shall bring Elam's captives back, Yahweh declares. In the last days, in the last days, in the last days, Adonai is going to do this. In Daniel 10:14, now I have come to give you an understanding of what will happen to your people in the last days. Book of Daniel shows us perfectly about the last days. But not only does the Tanakh, what people mistakenly call the Old Testament, but in the apostolic writings, what they call the New Testament, the Acharit Hayamim. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says Elohim, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. I actually had a vision the other day. You may be quite sure that in the last days there will be some difficult times. In these last days has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things. So the last days are everywhere, both in the Tanakh and in the apostolic writings. One of the most important understandings that every believer in Yeshua must have is that we believe that there will be last days and different things are going to occur, positive and negative. in the last days. And again, when we study eschatology again on Wednesday night, you could make sure you come and we can learn of those specifically. The main tenets of modern Jewish eschatology or last days is that the end of days are going to occur. Judaism, modern Judaism teaches this, and again, that comes from ancient biblical Hebraic faith. Now, the present age that we're living in is called the Olam Chazeh, this world, this time. The age to come is the Olam Haba. It's Haba, to come. Elohim will redeem Israel from captivity that began during the Babylonian exile in a new exodus. Now look at this. Israel has been in captivity since the Babylonian exile. You say, well, after 70 years, they came back. Yeah, they came back. But when they came back under Persian rule. And then we had Greek rule. And then we had Roman rule. And then there was the diaspora, the scattering. And you say, well, in 1948, they came back. Well, in 1948, the United Nations established a state of Israel. But remember, when we talk about Israel, and this is something that we need to think about in lieu of all the stuff that is going on in the internet with Candace and all these people that are talking pro and con about Israel. Who is Israel? What is Israel? Who's the chosen people? Who's not the chosen people? In 1948, yes, a state was established. A state that many people call a Zionist state. In other words, coming back to the old city, Zion in Hebrew, is the city of David. It's being excavated today. And Zion or Sion is a place. It's Jerusalem. It's the mountain, the city of David. But it's also a concept of people coming back. But Israel is not back yet. We don't have a temple. We don't have a high priest. We don't have a priesthood. We don't have the seat of Moses. There's a lot of things that aren't there. Yes, there's rabbinic rule. There is democratic rule. There's all these things there. But we don't have the biblical Israel back yet. Now, it won't be back really until Yeshua comes back and establishes the millennial kingdom. That's when Israel will really be back. Now, before that, Israel, Elohim will return the Hebrew people to the land of Israel. The Hebrew people, not just the Jews. Remember, the Jews are only one tribe of the Hebrew people, of the Israelites. One tribe with Simeon, a little bit of Simeon, a little bit of Benjamin, a little bit of Levi, a little bit of other tribes. But Adonai wants to bring back the 12 tribes. As we see in the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, we're going to see 144,000 of Israelites, of Hebrew people, 12,000 from each tribe. Israel is not the Jewish people. The Jewish people are only one tribe of the whole. But Adonai wants to bring back all the tribes. And not only all the tribes, but as you see our banners here, we also have Ephraim and Manasseh. We have 14 tribes. And Ephraim and Manasseh are part of the 14 tribes. And Adonai wants to bring them back. And there's going to be 12 tribes, and of course some of those tribes are going to be missing in the Acharit Chayamim. And again, that's another story. Elohim is going to restore the house of David and the Ezekiel temple in Jerusalem. Again, this is part of the millennial kingdom. Elohim will raise up a region from the house of David, the Messiah, to lead the people and the world and usher in an age of justice and peace. This is what we call the Messianic age or the Davidic kingdom, the kingdom. Now, when we pray what has been termed the Lord's Prayer or the prayer of the Master, we say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Every time we say thy kingdom come, we're talking about the Davidic kingdom, the rule of Messiah in the millennium. So we're praying for an actual kingdom. And it's a kingdom of Israel, of which the nations are also grafted in. Non-Jews will recognize that the Elohim of Israel is the only true Elohim, as many have, as we have, our families have. Elohim will resurrect the dead. Elohim will create a new heaven and new earth. This is biblical and mostly current Jewish eschatology, although there are some groups that kind of wander off of this main platform. But this is something that we need to know, that I want you to know, so that you could answer some of your friends or be able to talk with some of your friends. Now, Christian eschatology, especially in looking at Revelation 21 through 7, we have people that believe in a literal, historical, grammatical understanding, which I am. Or there's people that believe in an allegorical understanding, which means, well, these are just illustrations. Yeshua, isn't coming back in the future, as the book of Revelation says. There's not going to be no Antichrist. All this is just something that occurred in 70 AD with the Romans, and all this is going to happen. There are several schemes of understanding. Now, the first one is the historic premillennial understanding. There's also a post-tribulation rapture here. Then we have the dispensational, which is what most Christians believe. There's going to be a pre-trib rapture. Some believe it's a mid-trib rapture. And so these are the prominent studies. Historic premillennialism with a post-tribulation rapture, and dispensational premillennialism, pre-trib or mid-trib. Most believers believe this. Now, I adhere to what I call the Hebraic Messianic premillennialism, which means that Yeshua is going to come back before the millennium, but he's going to, as we're going to see, come back at the end of the tribulation. Not after the tribulation ends, but at the end of the tribulation. And of course, you have your post-millennialists that believe that Yeshua is going to, that the church is the millennium, either the Catholic Church or the Reformed Church is the millennium. We're living in kingdom time now, and there's going to be just a coming back of Yeshua at the end. And amillennialism, which means there's no millennium. Very similar to post-millennialism, but again, you could study these on your own in the future. Now, in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 1, where we get what is the kingdom. And I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key of the abyss and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And talking again from my point of view, literal 1,000 years. And threw him in the abyss and shut it and sealed it over him so that he could not deceive the nations any longer. Think of it. From the garden, he's been deceiving the nations. Every one of us has been deceived by him. But now he cannot deceive the nations until the 1,000 years were completed. After these things, he must be released, but for a short time, so he could deceive the nations to see who is a true believer. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those that had been beheaded because of the testimony of Yeshua, and because the word of Elohim, and these who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark upon their forehead or upon their hand. And they came to life and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were completed. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is the one who has part in the first resurrection. Over these the second death has no power, but they will be priests of Elohim and of Messiah, and will reign with him for 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years were completed, Satan will be released from prison. If you are born once, you're going to die twice. If you're born twice, you're going to die once. If you are only born in this life as a human, you're going to physically die, but then you're going to eternally die. But if you're born twice, physical life as a human and being born again, then you're only going to die physically. And then we'll have eternal life. Here's historic premillennialism, and again, we're not going to go through this too much. Some of you take pictures, and you could take a picture of that. And again, this we explain on Wednesday nights. If you want to come on Wednesday night, and we'll explain and give our chart, give some of these charts out. Here's dispensational premillennialism. This is what most Christians believe. Most Christians believe that, of course, Yeshua died. We're in the church age right now. But there's going to be a rapture of the church, and there's going to be a 7-year tribulation, and the 666, the abomination of desolation. This is going to be divided into 2, 3.5 year periods. We call this the 70th week of Daniel, and these are the events of the book of Revelation. There'll be a second coming, Armageddon, and a second coming. Then the kingdom of 1,000 years, Satan to the abyss. Satan is loosened. The Antichrist and false prophet are thrown alive, it says, into the lake of fire. At the end, there's going to be a battle of Gog and Magog when he's loosened. And Satan is going to be thrown into the lake of fire, where the false prophet and the beast, the Antichrist, are, it says. They've been there 1,000 years. Now there's going to be a resurrection of the lost, and they will stand before the great white throne, where they will be thrown into the lake of fire. And then we have the eternal state, the new heaven and new earth. This is what most Christians believe. This is mostly evangelical Christianity. The historic premillennialism is mostly the Reformed people, the Presbyterians. And again, with everyone, there's variations on all this. But this is what most Christians cut their teeth on. Now, postmillennialism teaches that there's going to be a gradual Christianization of the world. Most people that are into politics today, and this is where we have to be careful, that yes, I would like to see many, many people that are believers in politics. But remember, believers in politics, they have an influence. But what these people want to do is they want to make every person to be a Christian, so that when Yeshua sees what they call Christ returns, that he'll say, look at what my people have done. They have made the whole world into Christian. I'm going to come back and take him home. Again, that's false. And so be careful. And this is called theonomy. the rule of God now through the church. And there's a lot of churches that are involved in this, a lot of people that are involved in this. Of course, Amillennium teaches that the church age and the book of Revelations are allegorical. And these events already happened in 70 AD. Just looking at the end, and pretty much everybody believes the end to be pretty much the same. Now, what is Hebraic messianic premillennial eschatology? What do we in this congregation teach? This is what we teach. Now, this might be different than what you believe, and that's okay. Remember, I don't know everything. And while we may all be wrong, we can't all be right. So this is what I have come up with from my studies. And of course, everything is the same. Adonai made the olive tree from Jeremiah 11:16. Of course, Yeshua died, buried. The church is the olive tree, remember. That's why I named this congregation Olive Tree, because the body of Messiah, Israel, is the olive tree. There's one olive tree, and it's Israel, also called the body of Messiah. And right now we are in the Acharit Chayamim. From the death of Yeshua is when the last days started. And the Kehillah, the body of Messiah, we're someplace here, we don't know where we're at, but there is going to be a covenant of peace that is going to be made, what we call the 70th week of Daniel. And again, some of these are events in the book of Revelation. And this covenant of peace is going to have a third temple. A third temple's right now, if you're watching the news, the red heifers and all these things, they're trying to build a third temple. This is going to be anti-Messiah's temple, not Yeshua's temple, not the temple of Ezekiel 40. That is going to be Yeshua's in the kingdom. Now, Yeshua in the spring Moedim, the spring feast, he dies on Passover, and he's buried in unleavened bread, he resurrects on first fruits, and he sends his Holy Spirit in the Feast of Weeks. Now in the last days, the last three, on the Feast of Trumpet is going to be the resurrection. On the Feast of Atonement, 10 days later, is going to be the second coming. And the millennial kingdom is going to start on the 8th day, the day of new beginnings in tabernacles. Now, there's going to be a resurrection at the end. The resurrection is in two phases. Always remember. A lot of people ask, do you believe in the rapture? Well, that's not the question. Question is, do you believe in the resurrection of the dead? 1 Corinthians 15:50 and following. 1 Thessalonians 4:17 and following. John 14:1-3. Matthew 24:18. Do you believe in the resurrection? And the answer is yes. Every believer must believe in the resurrection. We will rise from the dead. Now, the resurrection, according to these verses, is in two phases. The first phase is the resurrection of the dead. Those that are in the grave, they shall rise. And we, the living, according to 1 Corinthians 15 and following, will again with them rise. First the dead, then the living. Same thing in Thessalonians. First the dead, then the living. The dead are resurrected first, then the livings are caught up. The word caught up is the Hebrew word, the Greek word arpazo. And the word arpazo means to grab out, to take out. And the Latin word is rapiet, where we get the word a raptor bird. Yeshua is going to come and rapture us away. The Spanish word is arrebatar. Yeshua va a venir y nos va a arrebatar. nos va a arrebatar y nos va a llevar junto con los muertos a su reino. And this will happen 10 days before. After the resurrection is Armageddon. And Armageddon is a 10-day plus 5-day period where the events of what we call the judgments of Revelation are going to occur in this period. And now the Great Tribulation is at the middle and begins the Great Tribulation. And by the way, the pre-trib rapture says that the Christians are going to be taken out before the tribulation, so they will not see the Antichrist. According to this model, and of course this is just a model, this is an understanding. This is my model as I have learned it, as I've seen it. This model presents an idea that we are not going to be taken out 7 years before, but 10 days before the second coming, yes, we will be spared the wrath, for Adonai has not called us to his wrath. Remember, Armageddon, the time of Jacob's trouble, is the wrath of Adonai on the beast system, on Babylon. And so the believers are taken out, and then we will come back with them on the second coming. And the fourth temple, Ezekiel's temple, will occur. And when Ezekiel's temple occur, Yeshua will be the king, the high priest, and the prophet. Yeshua reigns, and of course everything remains the same, and the eternal state, the Olam Haba, the world to come, a new heaven and new earth. Now remember, the only time that believers go to what we call heaven is when the resurrection occurs. We go to the Bema seat of Messiah to receive rewards. To receive rewards. 1 Corinthians 3:10 and following. And there's many places about the crowns. And then, according to the parables of Yeshua, whatever you do here on earth, according to your works, what did you do with your talents? You will have reign in the kingdom, in the Davidic kingdom of Yeshua. And for those 1,000 years, you will be part of ruling and reigning also with him. And at the end, we will all go to the eternal state. Now, the great white throne is for unbelievers. The Bema seat is for believers. At the Bema seat, we receive rewards. At the great white throne, they are now judged and thrown into the lake of fire. These are two different ones for Messiah, for believers, and one's for the Father, for unbelievers. And so this is the last days. And so Yaakov says, this is what's going to happen in the last days. And again, here's just a little bit of that that we just explained, that we need to learn. And we have these in charts and paperwork that you could come on a Wednesday night. That was the same one. Now, let's get back to our study. Yaakov had 4 wives. He had Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, and Bilhah. Now, Rachel was truly his wife that should have been the first wife. But remember, he was tricked, and so Leah became his first wife. And because Rachel did not conceive, Rachel gives Bilhah to him as wife as well. Leah stopped conceiving, and so Leah gives Zilpah as his wife also. So Yaakov had 4 wives. And so the sons of Leah were Reuben, the firstborn of the first wife. Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Gad was the firstborn of Zilpah, and Joseph was the firstborn of Rachel, and Dan was the firstborn of Bilhah. So remember, a firstborn is not the firstborn of the father. A firstborn is the firstborn that opens the womb, we are told. So there are 4 firstborn sons here. Now think of it. Joseph is the firstborn of Rachel, his beloved. But Joseph has 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And so Ephraim is the last one. Reuben is the first of the first. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And so let's look at this. And of course, Reuben, you are my firstborn. This is what he tells Reuben. You are my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. That's the firstborn. He gets a double portion. Uncontrolled as water, you shall not have preeminence. The firstborn gets the double portion. He gets double of what everybody else gets a cut of. But he's not going to get it. Why? Because he went into your father's bed. Then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. What Reuben did is he violated one of the girls, Zilpah. He violated her. And so now the firstborn, Adonai takes that away. So Reuben, the firstborn, is no longer the firstborn. He lost it because of his sin. 1 Chronicles 5:1, he was the firstborn. But when he defiled his father's marriage bed, his rights as firstborn were given to his sons, to the sons of Joseph. Now look at this. The rights of the firstborn were given to the sons of Joseph, son of Israel. But remember, the sons of Joseph were Ephraim and Manasseh. So the right of the firstborn was taken from the real firstborn and given to Joseph and to Joseph's firstborn son. But it wasn't the firstborn Manasseh, it was Ephraim. So Ephraim is the youngest and the least and the last. So the first, Reuben, became last. And the last, Ephraim, became first. And so now, the firstborn son of Israel, according to this, is Ephraim. So he could not be listed in the genealogical record in accordance with his birthright. And though Judah was the strongest of his brothers and a ruler came from him, the rights of the firstborn belonged to Joseph. So the firstborn son of Israel spiritually is Joseph. And the firstborn son of Joseph is Ephraim. Interesting. What could come of this? And of course, that we have Simeon and Levi, and the third and the fourth. Now, let's focus on Judah. The blessing to Judah says, Judah, your brothers shall praise you. The word Yehuda comes from the word Yada. Yada means to raise your hands and praise. Yada, to raise your hand. Yehuda is to praise. Your brothers will praise you. Your hand shall be at the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow to you. So everybody in the future will bow to Yehuda. As they bowed to David, as they bowed to Solomon, to the kings, as they will bow to Yeshua in the future. Yehuda is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches. He lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who dare rouse him up? Yehuda, and from Yehuda is the lion of the tribe of Judah, the lion of the tribe of praise. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of Jesse, has prevailed to open the scroll and to loose the 7 seals thereof. That was Yeshua. Yeshua is the lion of the tribe of Yehuda, the root of David. Now, it goes on to say, the scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. Until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of the people. Now what or who is Shiloh? The word Shiloh means to whom it belongs. But the root of Shiloh is the root Shalom, peace, pacifier, peace bringer. The one to whom it belongs. The scepter shall not pass from Yehuda till Shiloh comes, the one to whom it belongs. Now what's interesting is that at the captivity in 586, when the Babylonians took the kings to Babylon, gouged their eyes and different things like that. One of the things that we see is that they did not have Babylon. The Babylonians came and went. The Medo-Persians came and went. The Greeks came and went. The Romans. When the Romans were in Israel, they had some puppet kings, the Herods. And after Herod the Great died, his sons became the kings, the masters. And what's interesting is Archelaus, one of the sons, became the king of Jerusalem. But he was so bad that the Romans disposed him. But when Archelaus, around 14, he ruled from 7 to 14 of the Common Era, AD. When he was the king, the rabbis at the time, the leaders of Israel at the time, went to the streets of Jerusalem and they wept. Now this is 7 to 14. They wept, and their weeping was, woe unto us, for Shiloh has not come. Shiloh has not come. Shiloh is this prophecy. Now, in today's, Shiloh is what people call it, but it's in Hebrew Shiloh. Shiloh has not come. Unknown to them, Shiloh, Yeshua, was just a little boy. He was among them. He was walking among them, but they did not recognize him. And so they thought, it's over with. There's no coming Messiah because, look, we're under Archelaus. We're under Roman rule. We're under the rule of others. And Shiloh, which they believe should have been there in those days. I see him in numbers, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Yaakov. A scepter shall rise out of Yehuda. Of course, this is the false prophet Balaam who utters this prophecy. Remember, he was called to curse Israel, But every time he came to curse Israel, he says, I bless you. And so he was just about to curse, and all of a sudden this blessing comes out. And it's about Yeshua. For Yahweh says this, David shall never lack a male descendant to occupy the throne of the house of Israel. Yeshua is still occupying that turn. He's our king. I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. I will take my steadfast love from him as I took it from him before you. I'm talking about Saul. But I will confirm in him, in my house, my kingdom forever. His throne shall be established forever. If your sons keep my covenant and my testimonies that I shall teach them, their sons also forever shall sit on your throne. Look, the angel says to Mariam, you are to conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you must name him Yeshua. He will be great and will be called Son of the Most High, Ben El Elyon. And Yahweh Elohim will give him the throne of his ancestor David, and he will rule over the house of Yaakov forever, and his reign will have no end. So what Adonai gives through Yaakov to Yehuda has been fulfilled in Yeshua and will continue to be fulfilled forever and ever and ever. The firstborn of Israel is not Reuben. It's not Yehuda. He was the fourth. It's not Joseph. And it's not really Ephraim. Although Ephraim now is the firstborn or any other. The firstborn is Yeshua. He is the image of the unseen Elohim, the firstborn of all creation. Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to a son. This is Leah, the fourth son. And she says, this time I will praise Adonai. The first three, maybe if I have a son, my husband will love me. If I do this, he will love me. If I do this, she gave up on the fourth son and says, I'm just going to praise him. That's what his name is, Yehuda. I will praise him. For this reason, she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. And of course, we have Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun. And again, we come to Joseph. Joseph is blessed as a fruitful, even a fruitful well, whose branches run well over. And he gives good blessings to Joseph. And he gives a blessing to Benjamin. But as far as election is concerned, the people of Israel are loved on account of the patriarchs, for the gifts and callings of Elohim are irrevocable. He gives all these blessings to the sons of Joseph, and over here gives to the 12. And I always remember this. As far as election is concerned, the people of Israel are loved on account of the patriarchs. Not account of who they are. Not account of being Jewish. You're not loved because you're Jewish. You're not loved because you're an Israelite. They were loved because of the patriarchs, because of Abraham, because of Isaac, because of Yaakov, because of David. The patriarchs, the fathers, because Adonai will always bless those that follow what Adonai says. For the gifts and callings of Elohim are irrevocable. When Adonai chose Abraham, Lech Lecha, come out, it's irrevocable. When he said, I will give you a land, Israel. I will give you a seed, Messiah. I will give you a blessing, salvation in the cross. These three things to Abraham. He reiterated them to Isaac. He reiterated them to Jacob. These are irrevocable callings. These are irrevocable gifts. The land of Israel is irrevocable. Adonai will never take it away. It'll always belong to Israel. The Israel of Adonai. I'm not talking about the state of Israel now. That could come and go. If time continues, that could be gone, just like the United States could come and go. Every country comes and goes. Israel always stays. Joseph, Yaakov dies in 49:33. He's buried, he's embalmed actually, and sent to Israel, buried in Machpelah. After that, Joseph dies. He's also embalmed, and he's put in a tomb in Egypt. And then when the Exodus happens, his mummified body is taken to Israel and buried in the land of Ephraim. And again, this is the end of Breshit, Genesis. Let's go ahead and stand. There's so much that we miss, so much that is there. In 1 hour, we can't come up with everything. But Father, I pray that we could unpack some things, unpack some potatoes, some meat, some carrots, and so that each one could go home and make a dinner out of the food that they were given, Father, out of the stuff. I can't give them a TV dinner, Father, but we could throw these things out and be able to go home now and study to show ourselves approved workmen, not being ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And like Bereans, Father, be able to search the scriptures, that everyone could go home, search the scriptures to see if what I said was true. In the name of Yeshua. Yeverechecha Yahweh va'ishmerecha. Ayir Yahweh panav elecha v'chunecha. Asa Yahweh panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a good day.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Olive Tree Fellowship and Torah Unleashed Ministries. Thank you for joining us on our channel. If you have enjoyed this teaching and would like to see more, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell so that you can be notified when we have new videos. If you would like to support Olive Tree Fellowship and Torah Unleashed Ministries, please visit us at olivetreefellowship.com or toraunleashed.org. We thank you for your past support and hope to continue with you. Shalom, shalom. Have a good day. Shalom, shalom y bienvenidos a Olive Tree y a la Torah desatada. Les doy gracias a ustedes y a Adonai por su apoyo que nos han dado aquí. Y si quieren continuar a hacer una donación, pueden ir aquí en toraunleashed.org o en olivetreefellowship.com y ahí pueden dar una donación. Su apoyo, su ayuda es importante en estos días. Shalom, shalom.